Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Young Stroke Empowerment Sessions podcast. My name is Letitia Living, and I am joined by a special guest today, Nic Bray. How are you, Nic?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to have you on and share a bit about your story and all the great things that you've been up to.
Thank you very much.
So tell us, Nic, about you. Who were you prior to your stroke, and how old were you when you had a stroke?
So I was 17 when I had my stroke. I had actually graduated high school about 2 weeks earlier. So, um, and I was mostly worried about, university applications, not anything like a stroke. So, it was just very not shallow, but not, I mean, I wasn't shallow, but, the worries that I had were quite superficial until that.
Mhm. So you're 17, and what happened? Like you're thinking about uni and finishing school, but what happened? How did you end up in hospital?
So, when I was born, a vein in my brain was twisted, and when I was 17, it ruptured. And so what happened was it was 1:30 in the morning. And my parents heard the dogs just going crazy in the room next to mine. And they sort of opened the door and to see if I was woken up by them. And they found that um, I was having seizures on the ground. And that's what set the dogs off.
It's amazing that the dogs, it's not the first time I've heard that the animals have come to the rescue. So you said you had a vein rupture, so that's an AVM.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yours was in the back.
I think it was on the left side of my brain, and then that caused disability to my right side,
Mhm.
like from the surgeries and whatnot.
So what surgeries did you have to have?
Quite a few actually. I had I had two or three surgeries on my head. One of them was to remove half my skull and cut the bleed. Then I think I no, I didn't have another one. And then I had another they called it like a not easy surgery or non-emergency surgery to get my head back in place, and yeah. And then I did have a tracheotomy, but I'm pretty sure that's it. I was in a coma for a couple of weeks, so there could have been more.
So it sounds like you were lucky that the dogs alerted your parents to wake you up and get to hospital in time.
Oh, so lucky. And a lot about what happened. I mean, I wouldn't exactly call it luck because, but I'm lucky that it was 1:30 in the morning where not too many people would be having 000 emergencies.
Mhm.
And I'm lucky that the hospital is 10 minutes from me. And so, and the ambulance station. So, I think the 000 call lasted about 8 minutes
Wow.
before they got there.
Mhm. That's good time.
Yeah, exactly.
And how long ago was this, Nic?
Oh, on the 1st of December this year is going to be my fifth anniversary.
So you're almost 5 years out post
Yeah.
stroke. Well, I say post stroke, but do we want to share, or do you want to share about how you actually came to find about how you'd had an AVM and a stroke?
yeah, so for the first 2 years, so 2018 and 2019, the hospital kept calling it an AVM, and I would say, okay, what's that, Um, and they would just go, okay, so an AVM is where there's a bleed in your brain because of a vein, and I'm not always like, okay, but is there an aneurysm? Is it a stroke? Is it a hemorrhage? And then when I was 19, I think mum was looking up stuff to do with the brain injuries, um, and said, hey, Nick, you had a stroke, right? Like, it's literally the first thing that comes up when you search for hemorrhagic strokes. So I'm like, oh, okay.
That's quite an unusual way to find out what's happened.
Yeah.
So you're almost 5 years out, and how was rehab for you? So you've had a couple of surgeries. How long did you spend in hospital, and what did your recovery look like, especially in those early days?
I spent 99 days in the hospital in total for the stroke. And then I think what really got me through was doing things at my pace rather than the doctor's pace. I think I still remember this one time they were trying to get me to sit up, and I said, no, I think I can stand. And they said okay, and then before they could finish their sentence, I was up, and they're like, no, 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 you need to wait for um the other doctors to sit, like, be by your side just in case. I'm like, where am I going to fall back onto my bed? And so just doing that and moving at my pace rather than what someone thinks my pace is, just helped me, like, sort of reclaim my identity as well as push my rehab forward.
I love that advice that you've given there, because you do know your own body and your limitations, or um, being where your limits are and where you can push beyond them more than anybody else. And um, yeah, I think that mindset is a really good one to adapt when to be able to move forward. So post the recovery and the journey, you have decided to help and inspire others through sharing your story. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So I am part of the Genius Foundation on Facebook, um, and a few people from the support groups have come, like, messaged me personally and said, hey, Nick, my son or daughter or friend's daughter or whatever, they're really young and they've had a brain injury, they're and you're young and you can really help them because you're young and you know what it's like. It's not just the old someone old saying, oh yes, I had a brain injury too. Um, and then it sort of hit me like, I can do something that can change the future, like the future of young stroke. I had a young stroke, and by sharing my experience, someone's going to go, whether it be a someone whose child has a stroke or a future doctor going, hang on, this is something I can do. And I chose to take my trauma and make it into something that would benefit more people than myself.
Yeah, and it's so true, and I see the value in that. I mean, I personally have seen the value in that, in how you've been able to connect and help and inspire and give mostly hope to others, and especially the parents in some of the groups who have questions about how to, what do I do, or how do I support my child who has been going through something similar. And so this has been quite a journey for you with sharing your journey. So you've come through the Genius Network, and you're now, a host and hosting support groups. But you've also done something really amazing, creating a doco. Do you want to tell us more about that one?
So I was at a disability expo, and one of the magazines that was given to me had the focus on ability information on the back, and I like making my own things. I like editing, and I have a disability, and so I'm like, okay, I'm in, and so I made this documentary, Malformation, about my stroke and about um the worst parts of it and how I recovered. And I I'm a finalist right now, and hopefully um it gets somewhere. But if not, I'm a finalist, and my as of this morning, Malformation has hit 100 views on the Focus on Abilities YouTube. So someone's watching it.
That's amazing. So it's Focus in Ability
Yeah,
on YouTube, and your documentary is
on
called,
ability.
oh, sorry,
On ability.
disability on, yeah. And we'll put all of the links in the chat box too, so people can find it and watch it and share it. And it's great that that's available now and accessible for people who do want to know a bit more about AVM and the recovery journey. So what sort of challenges have you found during your recovery? Because I think we didn't actually mention you've actually gone back to university. So you are making strides in lots of areas of your life.
Thank you. Actually, it's funny. I was just last Wednesday at a mental health clinic, and we were talking about my stroke because um, after my stroke, at times I'd sort of frozen up, and it hurts, and I can't walk, and we had no idea. And the woman who was talking to me said, well, that's pretty simple. You just didn't trust yourself, you know. Um, you're scared that the next time you hurt yourself, it could be worse. So your body is stopping because it's thinking that you need to be protected. And so I think that's one of the major challenges that I'm facing right now. Um, oh, I can't move my right arm. That's also a challenge in some ways.
Yeah. So with some of the therapy is that working on making yourself feel safe in your own body to challenge yourself a bit more.
Yeah, and just being like, okay, this is high up or this is open, and I might not be able to grab onto anything that stabilize me, but I I have enough belief and faith in myself that I can go through this.
Mm-hmm. And what advice would you give to other people who have had an AVM and might not understand what an AVM is and post surgery and recovery?
So I think my biggest bit of advice is that go at your own pace, like, and also just because this stroke might be the worst thing that ever happened to you, I'm generalizing. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be the only thing that happens to you. You know, life moves forward, you move forward. Um, it's not going to be the, the that way forever.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. And what advice could you give to the support network and, say parents, carers, and family of people who are looking after somebody who has had a stroke?
Just listen to them. Like, I know sometimes it was a bit of a challenge with my family because I love them and they love me, but at times it would be like um they needed um they really wanted to protect me and help me with things, and I would be saying, oh no, I can do this myself.
Mm.
And sometimes I could do it myself and sometimes I couldn't, but I'm a human being and I'm allowed to work that out for myself.
Right. So I think the important message there is that um, you going through it yourself, you want to have that choice and control over the decision making.
Exactly.
Yeah, great advice. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Well, just if you do watch Malformation, just a little bit of a trigger warning. Some of the audio is quite graphic, so I had the start of it has the 000 footage, sorry, audio that was made while I was having the stroke.
Okay, well, thank you for that um, warning and disclaimer. We're going to share it, and I thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and bringing awareness to AVM and to your doco malformation.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.